So there are several terms associated with sustainability, right? So before going ahead, let's take a moment to understand what are our focus in today's webinar. We are looking at discussing key principles of sustainable procurement, environment, social and economic considerations, challenges in implementing sustainable procurement, what are the risks we face, what is the future, what are our role as young professionals, how important is to involve stakeholders and how important is to keep them engaged, and the role of ISO standards. In the entire webinar, I will keep on sharing examples where it will be easier for all of us, all our 55 participants who are there right now, it will be easier for them to relate and understand. So let's go to the next slide. Whenever we hear the word sustainability, these things come to our mind, right? Climate change, carbon footprint, sustainable development, fair trade, ethical consumption, renewable energy, deforestation, pollution, sustainable business model. So, as someone specifically told, sustainability refers to the ability to meet the needs of the present without compromising the future. So if we give an example of using of sustainability in our daily life, could it be reducing plastic waste by using reusable water bottles instead of disposable ones? Can this be done by doing so we can meet our current need of hydration while ensuring that our future generations have access to clean water and healthier environment? Apart from this, can anyone share some examples of sustainability that we use in our daily life? Anyone? Okay, let's move. So it encompasses environment, social and economic considerations, as I told. And the aim is to balance that ensures well-being of people and the planet on the long term. So someone has written very beautifully, Chandrasekhar Ganeshan has written people, earth and environment. This clearly defines that. No to plastic, right? Now, what is sustainable procurement? Same like sustainability, environmental responsible purchasing, which involves integrating again the three main components, environment, social and economic criteria, into the entire process of procurement to minimize negative impacts on people, planet, and profits. It encompasses or it includes sourcing of goods and services in a manner that promotes sustainability, ethical practices, and long-term value creation. Anyone have any questions can type over there. Now going to the next slide. What are the objectives and importance of sustainable procurement? Again, as I mentioned, during the entire conversation in the webinar, we will keep less of theoretical discussions and more on examples from our personal lives, our professional lives, and keep this session interactive. So first is reduce environmental impact, minimize resource consumption, waste generation, pollution, greenhouse gas emission associated with procurement activities. So in one of our previous organizations, we started a concept known as bring your own mug, where previously, where paper cups were used in the pantry, we replaced the paper cups and we started getting employees bring their own mug. What is happening is this helps in reducing the environmental impact. This is one of the examples of this reduced environmental impact that we discussed. Anyone can share some examples in their what they have done in their companies? Yes, lots of paperwork used in record keeping. Use of digital sources, right? We can use share folders. We can use several formats, storages. Reusable packing crates, right? Use of glass bottle instead of packaged drinking water. Excellent. There are several companies which are making sure in meeting rooms they don't keep any plastic bottles. They will only keep glass bottles. This is a very good example, Diwakar Kumar. Let's come to the next point. Promote social responsibility. What does it mean? It means that we have to support the basic human rights and fair practices within our community. And that should reflect in our supply chain. Let's say we promote social responsibility in the supply chain by supporting the business owned by different kind of minorities, women, LGBTQ individuals. This creates more opportunities for everyone. We also have to make sure that whatever we are buying the products, the people who make the products are treated fairly. They should have proper safe working condition, paid fairly, and do not have to work too many hours. Am I audible? Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir, definitely. We are hearing you.
Okay. Anyone who can give an example of promoting social responsibility? Ethical sourcing, wonderful. Yes. No child labor, right, right. Minimum wages, yes. Industrial relations, yes. Wow. Let's go to the next one. Our next is enhance economic value. What does that mean? To achieve cost saving through sustainable procurement practices. In one of our organizations, what we have done is, it was in 2017-18, we were doing some refurbishment. So during the budget as well, we are planned for the refurbishment. All the bulbs, regular light bulbs, we replaced with LED. The life is longer, use less energy, significant cost saving over the time. Anyone else give some examples? Can you share some examples?
So, but you said that, I mean, that similar initiative we did 4 or 5 years back. And adding to it that we have recently undertaken a project to implement motion sensor as a pilot project. As a pilot project, we are implementing it in the conference room and meeting room. And based upon the outcome we get, we will spread it across the workstation. So the primary objective is to reduce consumption of electricity. That is the main objective, and this is a way to contribute to the Mother Earth and the planet, also to the environment. So this is one of the initiatives that came to my mind, and I share with you all.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are going to the next one. Okay, we got another message. Reuse waste materials, yes. Single-use plastic, right? Use of solar power in a residential building, wow. So next is how to foster stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement. Engage with stakeholder, it can be anyone. It can be your customers, your suppliers, your communities across, to promote transparency, accountability, and shared value creation. People who are from Delhi will know that to preserve the environment and increase awareness about safe disposal, that single use of safe disposal of plastic waste, MCD, Municipal Corporation of Delhi, came up with the concept of garbage cafe in 2022. Sorry, 2020, if I'm not wrong. Anyone from Delhi will know. And individuals who drop off 1 kilogram of plastic or something of that sort at a designated garbage cafe will receive a voucher. And that can be exchanged with breakfast, lunch, and stuff like that. And it contains all empty water bottles, plastic bottles, and all these soft drink bottles and stuff like that. So this is a very nice real life example of fostering employment, fostering stakeholder engagement. Anyone else can give any sort of example which they have seen in their locality, within their building, within their community? Can you share? In the chat box, you can write. Then we'll go to the next point, driving continuous improvement. So what does it mean? It means that we have to continually monitor, measure, and improve sustainability performance across procurement process. We have to make and set some targets and benchmark and try to achieve this. Let's say we make a goal, just like a few minutes back, one of our participant, Orindam, told that they started with the motion sensor. What it means is, maybe the organization has made a goal that by the next financial year, they'll reduce the energy consumption by 20%, or they'll reduce the cost by 10%, or stuff like that, which is a drive for continuous improvement, where the organization will continually monitor, measure, and improve the sustainability practices. Anyone has any sort of questions, any doubt, any example in their mind, they can write it in the chat box. We'll go to the next slide then. So we will talk about a few terms which are very closely associated with the word sustainability, right? Sustainable procurement, circular economy, corporate social responsibility, ethical sourcing, green supply chain management, LCR life cycle assessment, net zero procurement, and social responsible procurement. We already spoke few of these through examples. Sustainable procurement, we told about how we can minimize harm on the environment. Circular economy, continual reuse, recycle, and regeneration. CSR, we have to integrate our social and environmental concerns to our business vision of our business. Make sure that we have that thought process and we can interact that with the stakeholders at large, right? Ethical sourcing, someone already mentioned it in the chat box. Green supply chain management, which talks about all the aspects of supply chain from the raw material till the final product to the consumers. LCA, life cycle assessment, evaluating the environment impact of a product and service through its entire life cycle, from raw material till disposal. Net zero and socially responsible procurement, Someone told no child labor and stuff like that, which is crucial. Now we will talk about importance and benefits of or let's face it that way, environmental importance of benefits in sustainable procurement. So when I talk about environmental important benefits, these three are main thing that comes to our mind. We have to reduce the consumption of the resource, lower carbon emission, and protect the biodiversity and the ecosystem. Let's say, for an example, instead of going through this theory, I'll give you an example. Let's say a garment manufacturer, okay? The company decides to prioritize sustainable material such as organic cotton, recycled polyester. What it does, it implements measures to optimize the material usage. The first point here talks about reduce resource consumption. So it implements measures to optimize material usage, reduce waste regeneration during the initial manufacturing itself. So how it does, it might invest in technology for precision cutting so that the fabric has very less scraps out, right? Second point talks about lower carbon emission. Let's say it utilizes renewable energy for its factories, for its manufacturing facilities, for its warehouses. It uses those which will reduce the fossil fuel. It might partner itself with some logistic companies that prioritize transportation practices by using EV. So in the entire process, they are lowering the carbon emission. Third, protects biodiversity and ecosystem. So let's say it works closely with the suppliers that helps in sourcing the sustainable, sourcing those materials which are organic. Collaborates with cotton farmers which employ organic farming methods, which minimize the pesticide, synthetic fertilizers. That will thereby reduce the harm to local ecosystem and diversity. This is one of the examples I have given, which will help your people to understand the entire process rather than going through the theoretical part. Second comes social importance and benefit in sustainable procurement. Am I going too fast or my pace is okay?
It's okay, sir.
Okay.
It's okay.
Cool. So I'll go in this way. And I hope not going through theory and going through example is also, you all people are able to understand?
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Excellent. So, social importance, right? Here, again, three main factors comes in practice, which promotes ethical labor practice, empowers local communities, and improves brand reputation, goodwill of the company. Let's say a company which ensures minimum wages, sustainable wages, which adheres to the labor laws throughout the entire manufacturing supply chain. They put regular audits in place to verify whether they are in compliance or not. That is how they promote ethical labor practice. What about empowering local community? Let's say they work with small owned factories, family owned factories, small farmers located nearby. So that way they are indirectly or directly injecting money into the local community, the local economy, supporting the local craftsmen who are present in this particular community, local skilled laborers, and empowering them. And when a company like this, who promotes ethical practice, promotes local, helps in empowering local communities, when they publish about their sustainability practices, a report about them, what happens is this builds a trust among the consumers. This helps the consumers to know, okay, so this particular company practices fair trade. This particular company helps local communities, and in return gains a reputation that, okay, this particular company is sustainable, promotes sustainability.
I have a question now.
Sure.
So if you go back to the previous slide, and you said the empowers of local communities. So just want to know if there is any legislation that guides us that a certain percentage of sourcing, whether in public or private organization, should be from small or medium enterprise or women-owned enterprises only.
So see, there are two ways of looking at it. One is state or country specific, and one is company specific. I can give you an example of a company known as Patagonia. Patagonia is a company in US. I can give you an example of company like OpenThread, if I'm not wrong, the name of the company. So they do so. They empower the local communities. They help the family-owned factories grow. But they do not do it because of a legislation. They do it because of their sustainable practice. They do it for their own benefit, for their own passion of giving back to the society.
Okay. Thank you for
Thanks.
clarification.
So economic importance and benefit of sustainable procurement. So let's say, okay, so it talks about 5 points. Reduce long-term cost, secures supply chain, enhances innovation, enhanced reputation, risk mitigation. Enhanced reputation is another thing that we have learned in the last slide as well, right? So I met a few days back a carpet vendor. We are doing some refurbishment in our organization. We met a carpet vendor. So he says, we only make modular carpet. Modular carpet meaning they make carpets which are square in shape. So, which allows easy replacement of damaged or worn sections instead of replacing the entire flooring. It reduces the long-term cost of that particular supplier or the client whom they are catering to. What they do is, again, securing supply chains. That's the second point that we're talking. They have bio-based material and recycled fibers they use. They use it to make sure they prioritize responsible sourcing. If you look at this point, it talks about promoting responsible sourcing and managing risk associated with the environment and social issues. So while talking to that person, he was telling that we only get material from recycled fibers and bio-based material. And we make sure our supply chain does not get disrupted because we have 2-3 more such vendors who give us to us. And they work with the local communities, which are unorganized, right? Their commitment to sustainability helps in driving innovation in product designing as well. So if you go to, I don't remember, there are several sites which talks about, so this particular vendor, they get fishing nets, discarded fishing nets from the fisherman. And that way, after collecting, they make a different type of innovative products from those particular raw material, the discarded raw material. This actually helps and enhances their innovation, creating new business opportunities. So when they were giving us demos of this particular flooring, I was very surprised to see a different type of flooring altogether. And I asked, what is this? Why it is different? So they told, I am getting this particular type of carpet, I'm making this particular type of carpet only from discarded fishing nets that we source from fishermen. What in general happens in that case? It helps their brand reputation. It helps. So I, as an individual talking to 87, 88 more people across, more participants across, I am talking about that particular service partner who does this type of practice. This increases the reputation of the brand. Anyone faced any sort of experience, any sort of thing which they can talk about in the group?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, I have a very small example, maybe. Few days back, one vendor came who is providing gifting solution.
Okay.
And so he said that their product portfolio is full of sustainable materials, like bamboo, then wood. And also, I mean, he gave me an idea that you can use. We often use a desktop calendar. I mean, we put the calendar on our desktop. So he said that the calendar is made from a product which you after using, if you just throw it in the soil, then it will be totally I mean decomposed. So and will help the soil to get the necessary nutrients. So he claimed, but of course I have not tasted the materials, but I got this kind of information, new information. So this can be a small example.
Right.
And
right,
he's from the gifting solution vendor.
Right. Wonderful. Right. True. Anyone else? This is a wonderful example I heard. Anyone else?
Sir, similarly, I have seen some pencils
Okay,
which
from
are
discarded
used
wood, is it?
in the back of that there is some seeds are there, some type of. Once the pencil is used, after that you throw that in the soil, and through that seeds, there some plants can be.
They can grow plants out of that.
Yes.
Wow. Great. Awesome. Anyone else? Okay. So I can go to the next slide. Here I'm talking about examples of some organizations who does sustainability across their portfolio. We have Unilever, IKEA, Nestle, BMW, Apple. Apart from that, there are several. I can share a few links with you all people. Just wait. I shared a link with you all people. You can see it in the chat box. Over the entire webinar, we will keep on sharing these links. We'll keep on sharing knowledge, which will help all of us. Next is role of procurement in sustainable supply chain governance. So sustainable supply chain is a big word. I mean, it has a lot of bandwagon into it. And one of the most important part of the entire supply chain or sustainable supply chain is procurement. So over here, we will discuss or we will talk about role of procurement in sustainable supply chain. We as procurement associates, procurement individuals, procurement professionals, we have to make sure we ensure with the regulations and standards, promote ethical sourcing and social responsibility, align with organizational sustainability goals, drive cost efficiency, facilitate employment, collaboration, and build long-term resilience and adaptability. In many of the cases, many of the points that we have discussed right now, ensuring compliance with regulation standards, ethical sourcing, organizational goals, these examples we have already given before starting, while discussing about other slides. So I am not particularly sharing examples out here, but I hope your people are getting the point what we are looking for as a role of procurement in sustainable supply chain governance. The 5 most important principles of supply chain governance is life cycle thinking, supplier engagement, social and ethical consideration, environmental criteria, and economic viability. Few minutes back, one of our friends spoke about how they are changing the LED bulbs. Someone spoke about motion sensor. Someone spoke about life cycle of the pencil. Once the pencil is done, you put it back and it helps you plantation. So these are all examples of how the key principles of sustainable procurement are actually utilized in everyday life. We as professionals, how we are utilizing it. 3 important and most important pillars of sustainable procurement are environmental, social, and economic. We just spoke and highlighted this in our previous slides as well. Our prioritization should always be towards eco-friendly practices, reducing the waste, conserving the resource, and make sure we promote sustainability. Same with social responsibility. We get to see someone in the chatbot wrote about compliance, child labor. We are talking about economic value and cost savings. These all we discussed in the previous slides. So while we'll be going, now we'll not be discussing particularly all these in this particular slide, and in the coming slides, we'll be discussing more about this. Environmental considerations in the supply chain, in procurement, right? Energy efficiency, resource conservation, pollution prevention, climate change, carbon emission. The 5 most important environmental considerations in procurement. We have to select products and services which helps in consuming less energy while making this product. We have to make sure we choose the material and resources that are renewable. We have to avoid or minimize the release of harmful substances into the environment, right? And there are several strategies of doing it. In the next slide, we will talk about how we can do it, how we can minimize the environmental footprint. What are the strategies? There are 5 important points that one need to consider while considering environmental, while talking about environmental consideration in procurement. First and foremost, life cycle assessment. We have to understand, we have to consider the environmental impact of a product or service that we take through the entire lifespan, from A to Z, from the raw material to the disposal. We have to always look for materials which are recyclable, which are biodegradable, which are energy efficient, which minimize the amount of package, opting for reusable and recyclable material. We have to look for transportation options which consume less fuel. We have to track, we have to make the routes of the transport as well to make sure they consume less fuel. The 3 R's of sustainability: reduce, reuse, recycle. Anyone from the audience can give an example of how in their daily life they work on reducing, reusing, and recycling. Very recently in our organization, what we have done, we had bubble top filters from Blue Star. We replaced that with RO machine, reducing the number of plastic water cans used in the pantry. Anyone can share some sort of a example? Clothes. Navid Nasiri told clothes. Navid, can you please help us understand? You were talking about reusing the clothes or recycling the clothes so that we get sustainable fabric. Recycle it, okay. Diwakar wrote shared transportation and carpooling, right. Right. Now we'll talk about examples of environment-friendly procurement practices. Energy efficient office, equipment and appliances, recycled paper products, reusable cleaning supplies, locally sourced goods. So I'll give you an example. If possible, I'll share the link also with you all people. Sony, everyone heard of the word Sony? So Sony has a program where they only purchase computers and monitors that meet specific Energy Star. And Energy Star is a joint program with the US Environment Protection Agency and the US Department of Energy that helps business and individuals save money, save energy by using energy efficient products. Many of you know of University of California in Los Angeles, UCLA, many people talk about, many people are aware, UCLA. They mandated purchase of recycled content paper for all printing and copying needs. So whatever paper they'll be using in their university will all be recycled content paper. I started my career in hotels. So I had a good fortune of being with several hotels in the very initial days of my career. So now hotels use microfiber cleaning, facilities use microfiber cleaning. So they, without requiring any harsh chemicals, the fiber cloth is such that it helps in cleaning. So this is one of the ways of reusable cleaning supplies. And it has a long span. Anyone can give any more examples? So someone asked me, is there any particular government compliant, one has to comply with government or any such statutory board about locally sourcing? So I'll give an example. Sodexo has an initiative that a certain percentage of the food ingredient which they buy has to be from the local farms. This they have practiced in several countries. I'm not sure whether it is practiced in India because I have not found any link as such. But everyone is aware of Sodexo. Sodexo is one of the premium food service vendors, and they are into food service and facility management. And they have an initiative where they source a certain percentage of their food ingredient from local farms. Right? These are few examples I've shared. Now we will talk about social responsibility. Just let me just check if someone has. RO wastewater is used for washing utensils. Okay, so we also have in one of my previous experience when I was taking care of a property, so we had a STP plant. So we use the STP water for gardening. That is also one of the example of how we can reuse water, right? So now we will talk about social responsibilities. So it talks about people, talks about community, and talks about society at large, right? When we're talking about social responsibility, we talk about people, community, and society at large, right? Oh, again, over the slides, I'll share them examples. First, let's understand what is social responsibility. Social responsibility talks about ethical practices, brand image, management of risk, and long-term sustainability. It helps us understand whether we are social responsible procurement ensures that suppliers adhere to the fair practice. It talks about organizations that prioritize social responsibility in procurement. Risk management, so that labor exploitation doesn't happen, human right violation doesn't happen in the entire supply chain. Well-being of the worker, well-being of the community. So human rights also plays an important role in social responsibilities, social responsibility in procurement. Okay, I'll talk about that as well in the next slide. Fair labor practice, human right, and diversity. Ensuring minimum wages, fair wages, safe environment, healthy environment. Upholding workers' right to freedom of association. Respecting fundamental human rights throughout the supply chain. Right? So, everyone heard about the company Nestle? Nestle conducts social audits throughout their supply chain to ensure compliance with supplier guiding principles, which addresses labor standards, human rights, environmental impact. So this is one of the examples how if an organization wants to create impact for social responsibility, they can do so. Many of you have heard of Body Shop. They partner with Fair Trade Organization, FTO, to source some of the ingredients. They support local enterprise and empowered disadvantaged communities. These are examples I'm giving while going through the PPT, which will help your people understand. Community engagement and development. Few minutes back, we spoke about how one of the states in India, Delhi, helps in making sure that sustainability is there within the premises. We can implement supplier code of conduct. We can conduct social audits, just as I told about Nestle. We can talk about community development initiatives in the areas where resources are sourced. Let me give you the link for the Nestle one. So anyone who can share some sort of example which they have seen? So let's go to the next slide, economic value and cost saving. So what does it talk about? It talks about how financially a company can benefit by adopting environmental and social responsible practices or procurement practices, to be very precise. It talks about cost saving by waste reduction, long-term financial viability, in return increased profitability. Right? All the organizations, ultimately, that is one of the goals. Cost savings, efficiency, and risk mitigation. Three main important parts of three main economic benefits of sustainable procurement. Lower cost associated with raw material, lower operation cost, be it energy bills, be it operational cost, waste disposal, regulatory compliance, efficiency gains, optimizing resource utilization, streamlining process by enhancing operational efficiency. Regulatory non-compliant is a risk, reputational damage. Sustainable procurement mitigates that risk. Few more: innovation and differentiation. Sustainability procurement, investing in sustainable procurement fosters innovation in product design. Few minutes back, I gave you an example of the carpet, but the carpet vendor sources materials from local fishermen, which in turn help them design a new sort of carpet. That itself gives an access to a new market. And it strengthens, improves the brand loyalty of the company. Sustainable procurement promotes long-term financial viability by reducing OC. As I told previously also, operating costs, they can reduce, minimize risk, right? So what are the three long-term advantage? Risk management, competitive advantage, and brand reputation. Cost saving through efficiency and waste reduction, reduce resource optimization, optimizing resource utilization, energy efficiency, waste reduction, implementing waste reduction, recycling, reusing, waste to energy initiatives, and of course, supply chain optimization. Few examples: reduce energy consumption in building and production process, minimize waste disposal fees, lower transportation cost through routing, efficient use of material and reduced need of raw material. We just few minutes back, if you remember, I shared the, I don't know whether I've shared, minimized waste disposable fees of IKEA. IKEA focusing on designing furniture that can be flat packed, which will reduce packaging waste, which will lower the waste disposal fee. Everyone heard about Walmart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Walmart is investing heavily in logistic optimization. They are using several softwares in planning the route so that they can optimize the delivery route, reducing the transport cost across vast networks. Boeing is again working a lot in making sure they reduce material waste in aircraft production. These are examples you can find in several procurement journals and magazines. I am fortunate to be part of few of these, and so I get these examples I thought of sharing across with you. People who are from India knows ITC, Indian Tobacco Company. They focus on using recycled paper and biodegradable packing material. Tata Steel is implementing lean manufacturing practice to minimize material waste in steel production. And these are very well available across several websites, several journals, which people can read and learn from. Right? Then we will talk about sustainable consideration and procurement specification. Anyone has any sort of examples which they can share with a larger audience? It will be beneficial for all. I hope everyone is awake, right? My presentation is not that boring that everyone got to sleep.
No, absolutely.
No, it's not.
See, I am awake.
We are also, sir.
So we are hearing.
Okay. And hope you all people are enjoying as well, right?
Yes.
Definitely, sir. Definitely we are enjoying.
We are listening keenly.
Awesome. So we'll go to the next slide. It will talk about sustainable consideration. So this is something is not one of many part. Consideration of sustainability or sustainability talking or thinking or considering sustainability in procurement should be in every step of the process. When we are planning something, when we are selecting a supplier, when you are discussing about evaluating supplier, when you are talking about specification requirements, when you're talking about contract and negotiation, everywhere, this should come into picture. So let's dive deep. Planning and strategy. We have to set sustainable goal aligned with organizational value. Supplier selection and evaluation. We have to select suppliers which are practicing fair labor, which are practicing diversity. We cannot set a sustainable goal which does not align with the organizational value. Specification and development and requirement development. Let's say we are sourcing a material from a vendor which practices fair labor practice, which exercises fair labor practice, but the material is normal light bulb, which is not energy efficient. So in one step, we are considering sustainable procurement. In the other step, we are not. Let's say we are considering LED bulbs, but we don't have any particular plan of how to dispose it. Then in the later stage, what we are doing, we are not considering the sustainability in the later part of the supply chain process or the procurement process. We have to put sustainability clauses in the contract. And we have to set performance metric aligned with the goals. Now, let's say, while doing it, while talking to the vendor, while making sure, we have to also make sure that execution goes that way. We have to optimize the transportation process to reduce emission. We have to make sure we promote less waste. Just hold, let me just. We have to make sure we promote less waste, ensure ethical sourcing, risk management and contingency planning. We have to also understand the sustainability risk in the supply chain. I will explain about the sustainability risk and disruptions in the later slides as well. Performance evaluation. We have to make sure that we measure the sustainability indicators like emission and water usage very closely and review correct areas wherever it requires an improvement. For that, if we need to engage with the stakeholders in these initiatives, we should go ahead and do it. And there are tools to analyze the sustainability need. We have to understand there are tools which will help you understand the life cycle assessment tools, EMS or environmental management system, social impact assessment. I will talk about these as well. Yeah, see. We have to understand, we have to provide, which will sustain. For example, let's make a framework which will provide guideline of the reporting sustainability performance. We as individuals from a department, let's say, share details of how much emission of the transportation that has happened, how much use of raw materials or stationary consumption has happened. All these lead to a reporting of the sustainability, right? Let's talk about procurement specification. What is procurement specification? They are essential standards for any procurement. They are blueprint for integrating sustainability consideration into buying decisions. So why are they essential? So there are 6 points which talks about, they set the standard, we have to set standard for environment, social, economic attributes, ensure compliance, facilitate evaluation, promote transparency, and enable environment of sustainable procurement performance. I will give you examples which will help you people understand this very clearly. So let's talk about the first one, performance specification. What is performance specification? Let's say a t-shirt, office printer, or something where we define the environmental performance, social performance, and economic performance. Let's say we will talk about a printer that I will bring in the company that will reduce energy consumption by 30% compared to the industry average. Social performance specification. Let's say apparel brand or t-shirt which practices fair labor must be a certified, recognized organization that ensures fair wage. These are talking about performance specification of a product. Performance specifications are king. They directly translate sustainability goals into measurable environment requirement. So anyone who is talking about a particular material they will buy for their organization, they will buy for their own use, and they want to set a performance specification of that, the measurable criteria related to that is environment, social, economic. Let's say a few minutes back, one of our participants asked, one of our friends asked that, is there any particular law which talks about employing a certain percentage of residents from that particular area? So let's say we make a local construction project and we employ 30% of the local workforce who are residents from the local community. So we will pay them wage. We will have a minimum guarantee that, okay, 30% of them are coming to us, working with us. This gives an example of economic performance specification. Few days back, I read an article, okay, that city of Austin, Texas, they shared performance specifications for new office building project. And their performance specification talks about reduced energy consumption. So when some performance specification is talking about reduced energy consumption, where will it come? Environment, social, or economic? Guys,
Environment and economic.
right, it will come to environment because it talks about energy consumption. It talks about LEED gold certification, which translates to energy consumption. Let me just see if I have, no, I don't have that in the presentation, else I would have shared with you. Now, Apple, everyone heard about Apple? Apple utilizes performance specification I'll tell you which performance. You have to answer me which performance specification they're talking about. In their supplier contract, that requires the supplier to share they are practicing fair labor. And the supplier must meet specific criteria on working hours, wages, and most important, anti-discrimination policies.
It is social.
Social, right, right. Similarly, when in many of the cases you will see that the entire chatbot, everyone is asking to send me the soft copy of presentation. Puneet, I hope you will take care of this.
Yes, yes, sure. After this training, like I'll share the recorded video also and this presentation.
Excellent. Thanks. So let's talk about one of the major international brand, IKEA. So what IKEA does, IKEA in many of the cases talks about durability of the product. Instead of specifying material, they specify expected product lifespan and weight capacity. This allows supplier flexibility in material selection, which will ensure product durability, minimizing future replacement and waste, right? Again, I don't have this particular link, else I would have shared. Now comes functional procurement specification. In the very first, we spoke about, what was the first that we spoke? Performance specification. Now we're talking about functional specification. What is functional specification? They describe the desired outcome or function, but can be adapted to incorporate sustainability. For example, a functional specification of office furniture might be ergonomic chair for employee comfort. Here, you could add a sustainability element by specifying chairs made from recycled material. Can anyone understand what this particular picture talks about?
This is medical or some medical production?
No, so this talks about that there are two ways of packaging. One is this bin packaging, one is this paper packaging. So one can use a corrugated box as well for packaging, or can use these pods for packaging. Depends on what is the ultimate functional specification they are using for packaging. Anyone heard about coffee pod? So Coffee Pod is a company that provides convenient single serving brewing coffee. So their functional specification is very clear. Pods should be made from recyclable material, should contain certain percentage of recycled content, and should be biodegradable within XYZ time frame. So these are specification they have shared. There are many as such which talks about functional specification. Then we are coming to technical specification. So first we spoke about performance specification. Then we spoke about functional specification. Now technical specification. Let me just see. Is there anything in the chat box? Okay, yeah. Akash wrote cardboard, yeah. Cushioning material, right. Cushioning material, right. Okay. So, procurement specification, we're talking about technical specification. I have given an example. Material must have an R value, that is a thermal resistance of at least 15 to ensure proper building insulation. Utilize recycled content in the insulation material wherever possible. In this example, the technical specification prioritizes insulation performance, but also integrates sustainability element by encouraging the use of recycled content. Before going into the definition, I spoke about the example. Now, if you read the definition, it will be easier for you to understand. These are least important sustainable procurement in most cases. They focus on precise technical details and sometimes limit options for sustainable solutions. In some cases, can be used to ensure compatibility with existing system or promote specific sustainable feature, just the way I showed. I'll share a chart also with you, which will help your people understand very easily. Can you see the chart?
Yes, yes.
I tried to make this chart
Yes.
in a way so that in one particular screen, your people can see the entire thing and it will be easier for your people to understand. Punit, we are taking some more time.
No issues, no issues. Take it. Like we can continue.
Great. So I'm going to the next slide. This talk about conformance-based specification and process specification. It does not generally fall under technical or performance. It basically talks about how a product is made and does not necessarily talk about sustainability. Okay. Similarly, process specification. Process specification is only about outlining the steps involved in the process, in the entire procurement process. They generally don't define the characteristics of what we are buying. What are the common challenges and risks in implementing sustainable procurement? Lack of awareness. Organizations may lack the knowledge and resource necessary to effectively implement. Limited supplier transparency, difficulty in obtaining accurate information about suppliers. Higher initial cost. In many of the cases, the upfront cost is very high. Now, while we are discussing this, anyone wants to share any of their experiences, can please come and talk. We'll be more than happy to share these information with others as well. Resistance to change. We get this resistance to change from internal stakeholders, from management, from supplier. Complexity of the supplier. There are cases where we have globalized supplier. There are cases we have very localized supplier. That helps. In case of globalized supplier, it becomes very difficult for us to trace the product origin. Regulatory compliance. Yeah, someone telling something?
Yes, Princess here. I wanted to also mention the cost of change as well. Should also be included here. Because there are also costs, yes. So when you want to make such change to sustainable procurement. Thank you.
Right. So as I told, whenever there is any such new things that will come, there will be a certain cost which a company or the organization has to bear. And in many of the cases, people don't want, the organization doesn't want. Second is Okay, so risk associated, one of the, so last two, if you look at the last 2 points, supply chain disruption and reputation damage, this is one of the most dangerous risk, I would say, in case of disruption. It can include natural disaster, geopolitical conflict, transportation delays, supplier bankruptcies, which in turn disrupt our entire operations. Reputation damage, negative publicity resulting in environmental violation, labor abuses, unethical practices, and it in return damages our reputation. So there are strategies for mitigating this. We have to keep on talking or discussing these things with our supplier. We have to collaborate with them very closely. Supplier diversity. We have to make sure that we reduce the reliance on one single supplier and diversify our supplier base. Many of your people who are from India know that there is a water crisis going on in Bengaluru. Now, many of the tech parks who have 2 or 3 service partners who supply water had disruption. But there are tech parks which has more than 7 to 8 water supplier vendors. What they do, they don't face this issue of water crisis because of the supplier diversity. Risk assessment, just I told you, thorough assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities. Due diligence to verify suppliers' compliances. Capacity building, investing in internal capacity building rather than depending. Collaboration with government, NGOs, industry peers, and continuous improvement. That is continuous monitor, measure, and evaluate. Future of sustainability, circular economy, blockchain, data analytics, supplier collaboration platform. Anyone from the participants who have been implementing any of these in their organizations can shed some light out here? Okay. Circular economy talks about minimizing the waste. Blockchain traceability. It also talks about blockchain traceability talks about the transparency in the supply chain. Data analytics talks about analyzing the data, which helps in optimizing the entire procurement process. Supplier collaboration talks about facilitating collaboration between the buyers, vendors, suppliers, helping us in monitoring and taking initiatives. What is our role? What is our role in this? Innovation, advocacy, tech-savvy champions, and collaborative leaders. We as young professionals should champion innovation. We should come with fresh ideas, push boundaries, advocate environmental and social responsibilities. We have data with us. We are tech-savvy generations. We have to allow digital fluency and leverage that, be it blockchain, be it AI, right? How many of you heard of Kavita Shukla? Anyone? Okay. Kavita Shukla is a founder of fenugreek. What is fenugreek? Fenugreek is a pepper. That pepper, when kept with fruits and vegetables, increases the shelf life of the vegetable. You can look at in the internet and just write fenugreek. You will see about the innovation that person has done. Second is, anyone have heard about the company known as Blue Land? What does Blue Land do? they sell small tablets. Okay. So, for example, you are buying a product for hand wash or your cleaning agent. Every time you buy a product, you buy a bottle. Once the product is empty, you throw the bottle and get another bottle. Right or wrong?
Yes, yes.
Right? What does Blue Land do? They are advocating that you keep the bottle, put water, and just put this particular capsule there. It will make a new hand soap for you, a new washing agent for you. Why I'm giving these examples? They are young people. Kavita Shukla is a young lady. The owner of Blue Land, I don't remember her name, from US. She's also a young professional. So what I'm trying to say is that we as individuals have a lot of things which we can do. Right? Coming to the next one. Stakeholder engagement. It talks basically about, just hold. Yeah. It talks about importance of stakeholder engagement in sustainable procurement, engaging employees, suppliers, customers, and building partnerships and collaborations for shared value creation. These things we spoke while talking about social, economic, and environment as well, right? I will share some examples with you, which will help you all people understand. Just hold, if I can get that. Okay. So Google has a program, okay? It's called Google Sustainability Champions Program. Please go to website and see Google Sustainability Program. They involve employees in it to make sure employees give some ideas, right? This way they are collaborating within the employees. If you look at the engaging supplies and that point that is written out here, provide training and education, fostering culture of sustainability. That is a fostering of culture of sustainability. We'll go to the next slide. Role of ISO. One of the most important global bodies. ISO 14001, ISO 20000, ISO 26000. These are all different standards which helps us understand environment, understand sustainability, understand sustainable procurement. Tata Group, Mahindra, Infosys, Wipro, they're all part of ISO 20400. International companies like IKEA, Nestle, Unilever, Walmart, Apple, Toyota, these companies are recognized for their sustainability effort. If you go to their website, if you talk with their employees, you will see how much they are working to make sure that they embrace this practice that closely aligns with 20,400 principles of ISO 20,400. What is ISO 24,400? Sustainable procurement. World's first international standard for sustainable procurement. The standard is voluntary and it offers a framework for best practices to be practiced in the organization. Right?
Sir, is this standardization for the organization or for individual? I mean, can individual acquire this certification or it is for the organization?
So as far as my knowledge goes, I have seen organizations where they say in their label that we have implemented this. I'm not talking about 2400, but EMS, ISO 45,000 and stuff like that. When you're talking about lead auditing course, those are this ISO 20,000 when a person can do it.
And so, sorry sir, for the interruption. Is this an abbreviation ISO or what's the standards for?
So 20,400 is a standard for procurement, sustainable procurement. There are several other standards as well, which are you will find it in internet. For example, I myself has done occupational health and safety standard ISO 45,001. So I am a lead auditor for that. What are the benefits? What we are talking about? Promote sustainability practice, global standard. It builds trust and confidence among stakeholders. In many of the cases, in case of outsourcing, if an organization says, I will only outsource this particular function of my business to you, provided you are certified with this, it helps the organization to get business as well. Now we're at the last part. We'll talk about by integrating sustainable practices into purchasing decisions, into procurement decisions, we can contribute to the environmental protection, social responsibility, and economic value. We as an individual should educate ourselves. We should promote reuse and recycle, choose sustainable transportation, spread awareness, and getting involved in the community. There are, okay, now we are